Cool. Hello, welcome. I'm Tony Sands. You should know me by now. I mean, my face keeps popping up during this festival, or in the run-up to the festival, and I was here last year as well, so you might have met me live rather than just on screen. But here I have with me the magnificent, I'll start with Nick, who's down there on my screen.
Hi, Nick Dragon, co-producer, co-writer, co-director, and a few other things of the anthology film 9 Ways to Hell.
And then Lacey, who's kind of there.
My name is Lacey. I am co-executive producer with Nick and actor in his segment, Betrayal.
Cool. That was so short, Lacey. I was expecting so much more. Right, and then down here, we've got a Londoner.
Yeah, I'll be a little bit more talkative then. My name is Shelley, and I am a writer, director, and actor. And I produced, wrote, and directed a segment called Greed in 9 Ways to Hell, and I also acted in Fraud. And I got to work with these lovely folk over here, so that was a blast.
Fantastic. Right, so I'll start with you, Nick. What brought this about?
What brought this about? Well, first of all, 9 Ways to Hell, it is an anthology.
Great title, by the way. I love the title.
Thanks. It's 9 stories by 9 filmmakers, each story inspired by one of the 9 circles of Dante's Inferno. And, well, I've always loved Dante since reading him as a teenager, and I've always wanted to do something with that in my creative life. And in the 90s, I believe, I tried to write my own script, just based on the Inferno. And I had tons of notes. I had scenes worked out in my head. I had characters worked out in my head. I wrote fade in, and the entire thing collapsed. And I gave up. And I always felt bad about that. Flash forward to 2015, I joined a filmmaker, 2015. I joined a filmmakers group called the Hollywood Guerrilla Film Club, which you can find on Facebook, and started making short films, started making web series, found some amazingly creative and cool cats to work with, one of whom was Lacey Ray.
Yeah, so we had amazing people, writers, directors, actors, all wanting to create, and we were doing a ton, actually, of short films. And we thought, Nick and I were talking that we wanted to make a horror film, a feature. We were getting really ambitious. And in a way to incorporate as many people as possible and their visions and their creativity, we decided on a horror anthology so that we could get people like Shelley and Nick both writing, both directing, and we just could, like, you know, incorporate as many of the Hollywood filmmakers as we could.
So Shelley, when did you first hear about it?
Actually, I met these two cats when I had this terrible car accident. I was like at home in bed and really wanting to feel like a filmmaker, even though I couldn't leave the house. And I had this crazy big scary attic. I think it was like 2016. And somehow we got in contact, and I was like, guys, just come and film in my house. I just want to have filmmakers around. And then that's how I met them, and then we started working on a bunch of stuff together. And then Nick contacted me and was like, Shay, you know, we're making a horror anthology. I was like, great, have fun. And he was like, no, we want you in. I'm like, I don't even watch horror films. They're too scary. I can't, that's wrong address. Turns out that Nick knew a little bit more about my dark side than I was willing to admit. Because I absolutely loved writing and directing a horror.
And side note is that Shelley's segment is the most gory and horrifying segment, in my opinion. So
It actually even it won an award for best score, which we all have to thank Joe Castro for, because he was incredible as a kind of special effects makeup artist. Actually, when I worked with him and he showed me some examples, I was like, okay, he wanted it worse, guys. And I was like, okay, take this idea and now make it romantic.
I mean, that's the feeling. I don't know about you guys, but that's the feeling I got from her segment. That it was quite romantic.
Mm-hmm.
You could have wanted, like, I mean,
really sweet.
There's an elegance to Shelley's segment, I feel like. So.
Yeah.
I mean, it was hard enough to sit with Nick and edit it as it is. Nick would laugh at me because I'd freak out in the editing room.
Yep.
Even though I'd filmed it myself. So.
Put him with a job now.
Sorry about that. So, yeah. So I mean, it was scarier than I thought I could do. So thanks, guys, for bringing that out.
Well, I think horror.
And then after that, she made a short film which has even more gore in it.
Oh, we started a monster.
We'll have to try and check that one out. I can't imagine it's got any sicker. But,
it's a little bit more vindictive.
Really? More?
And it has a pitchfork.
Now I want to see it. You'll have to send me a link. The thing with I've got to say with horror is an amazing genre because it encompasses so much, and it's such a broad spectrum that you can play with, and also you can tell so many different stories with horror. It's a fantastic. I mean, obviously I love it because I'm the festival, but I love horror is a fantastic way of telling stories and a fantastic way of touching into people's psyches and talking about things we shouldn't really be talking about. Horror is probably the best genre for it. Anthologies, though, are all very, very difficult to get right. So a really brave thing to tackle, Nick. You obviously got it right because we liked it and we're playing it. But were you scared going in? Because obviously you've only got so much control. You control your bit and then you can put it out. You can trust filmmakers, but you don't always know what you're going to get back. Was that scary?
You're exactly right. You don't know what you're going to get back. And it wasn't, I didn't think of it as being scary at the time because really we just wanted to get something done. Like Lacey said, we'd been making short films and we just thought, okay, let's just see if we can make a feature-length film that brought together a lot of stories. And we did it, and I was genuinely surprised by how everybody brought their A game. My encouragement in the first meeting was for everybody to tell a story that they cared about, that they felt some connection to, that they felt was important to them, or just they were obsessed with. In that first meeting, everybody picked out their sin or their circle of hell out of a hat, except for me. I cheated. Because I was the co-executive producer, I picked betrayal and the prologue beforehand. So I knew whatever else would happen, I would have the beginning and the end, and I could make whatever came in the middle work. And it was just astonishing what people came up with. It is multifaceted. Everything is different. Every segment is very different, and yet we still managed to create some connections between all of them.
I mean, that's the great thing about anthologies, isn't it? That you can vary it so much. You have so many different flavors.
Yeah, and I was very much inspired by the British anthologies. I think you guys really were the pioneers of the horror anthology, going back to Dead of Night in the 1940s and Amicus. Is it Amicus or Amicus?
Amicus, yeah.
Yeah, those The House That Dripped Blood, man, I grew up on that stuff.
Yeah, no, British horror, and around that time you had Amicus and then Hammer. There's some fantastic stuff going on.
Yeah.
and then Hammer.
So I was definitely inspired by all of that.
Yeah, you must have been really thrilled then when all the stuff came back. You must have been chuffed to bits, thinking, "Oh, this is going to be cool." Shelley, go on, Shelley.
Can I just chime in and say that both Lacey and Nick are way too humble. So I'm just going to have to say that they're a fantastic team. It wasn't by chance that we all bought our A game. I've worked on numerous projects. I've never felt the kind of support that I felt from these two. Nick has this like quiet way of supporting you, giving you, nurturing you. Lacey has a way of like shaking it up, making it happen. It works really well together. And without that supporting team, I don't think any of us would have been able to bring our A game, honestly.
So is Shelley invited to do the sequel as well then?
We gotta see who's left for the sequel.
Look, I would be thrilled to work with all of these people again.
100%.
Yeah.
Is this the first anthology you've done?
Yep.
What about you, Lacey? Same?
Mm-hmm.
And then...
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I've always kind of had to go it alone, so it was really nice to have a good team.
How did you pick the other filmmakers? Was it just people you knew, or...?
People we knew through the Hollywood Guerrilla Film Club, mostly. One of them had to drop out early, and so I invited in Emily Rua, who wrote and directed Gluttony.
Oh, sorry. Shelley did Greed.
That's right. Pay attention, Lacey.
I know.
See, come on.
I don't know what I'm...
So I invited her in because she had done, we had worked together, and she did an amazing job with Gluttony, which is, it manages to be gross and charming and a little bit sexy. Ty, who directed Limbo, she had worked as my camera assistant a few times, and I knew she could direct. I also edited a short film that she directed, and so I knew she could direct, and I loved what she did with Limbo. It's action horror, and surprisingly deep. Scott, Lacey, do you want to talk about Scott? No.
God, no, he's just funny. He's no, he's great. He's a champion of horror comedy, raunchy horror comedy. So he got Lust, and he just went balls to the wall with it, and it's hysterical and funny, and so much so that some of the characters he created, Nick brought back in some interstitials throughout the whole thing because it was just so much fun. So that's Scott in a nutshell.
That scene was like 30 minutes long.
Oh yeah, we had to cut that.
We had to cut a lot of stuff out, but it was like all good. So it was like, how do I get this down to a reasonable length? My original instruction for everybody was their scene should be about 9 minutes. 9 filmmakers, 9 scenes, 9 minutes. And Scott, made something that was like 30 minutes. So that's Scott.
There's 9 in there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Then
21.
Then we had Dylan, who did Wrath, and his was straight out of the newspapers of the Black Lives Matter movement, and it's very poignant and and relevant to today. But he took a horror element to it. And then Derek.
I'll talk about Derek because I was actually in Derek's film, and he also shot it in my house. So that's funny. But the lead role, the lead actress, it was all from her point of view. So he actually had the camera on her. So she's also, we have a DP, that's kind of directing her, but she's also the camera operator. which was really cool. And there's a moment where she looks in the mirror, and that was really hard to do because we had to take the camera off. And I was like, I played her sister, and so it's all kind of a little fisheye and, you know, a little distorted. The whole family's like in shock. So that was really fun.
And then who do we have? We have Devin and Alejandra. Devin did Violence, which is a very surreal, lot of special effects in there. I think, Nick, do you want to talk about Violence and all the special effects you did?
Derek, for Violence. Yeah. I did most of the effects for that, yeah.
Would you like to expand on that, Nick?
Not really. The thing about that was...
the effects.
Yeah, he's super humble, this guy.
Well, originally, our friend in Florida, Miles Massey, who is an excellent visual effects artist and videographer and photographer. He was going to do all of the effects, but because he's so good, he got busy, and we couldn't afford him. So I had to take up some of the slack. He did a few effects, but I had to do a lot after he dropped out, and I was learning as I was making these things on my computer. I have no idea how to do rotoscoping or green screen or any of that, but you know, I figured it out. I went to YouTube Academy, just watching all of those tutorials and figured it out.
You had a lot of jobs on this film. You did a lot.
Too many.
But good. I mean, that's indie filmmaking, isn't it? You end up doing so much. You end
That's
up
right.
having so many different roles in indie filmmaking because it's just the money's not there and it's called for. You want to get it made. Sometimes you just got to do it yourself. Make the sandwiches, be the runner.
I always do my own cooking on my set. I bring like legit food.
That's because you should.
That's how I get my friends to do me favors, by feeding them really, really well on set.
Fortunately, Shelley is an excellent cook. If I prepared food for my cast and crew, they would mutiny. I would never film again.
It sounds like you make a really nice unit then. You've got all the bases covered. Catering, special effects, acting, everything's covered. All right. What is that? All the filmmakers you covered?
There's Alejandra, who did Heresy, and he worked with some kid actors, some younger actors, as did Shelley. And I must say, Shelley and Alejandra got some amazing performances out of their young actors.
Mia Komsky is fantastic, and so was Ashiko. I have to say, my two lead actresses, they walked into the room and I was like, thank God, thank you, I have a film.
Cool, nice. And quickly, what's up next for you all? Lacey, what have you got lined up next? Anything? Lacey, is she there?
Sorry, I lost audio for a second. I'm back.
What's up next for you? Have you got any films lined up? Any shorts?
What's up next for me is I am in the middle of writing a web series. It's something different. It's comedy. And I also want to try and promote it by making a one-on-one virtual immersive event for it prior to the web series.
And what's the web series going to be called? You got a title?
I don't want to tell you because it's such a good idea.
Right. She says she wants to promote it, and then she won't say anything about it.
Okay. It's called Stumbelina, and she is the fairy of drunk people.
Oh yes, I remember. Oh, it's fantastic. I saw some artwork for that. That's fantastic.
That's a great idea. There you go. Now you just put the title out there. If anybody takes it, they've stolen it off you.
They have. But if anybody wants to help fund it, they can call me.
See, it's Lacey. Shelley, what about you? What's next?
I have two things going on right now, actually. I just finished writing my first book.
Good.
It's called It All Began in Africa. It's a memoir about my trip to Africa with my mother. It's funny. It's a drama. It's 99,000 words. And if there's any agents, talk to me. And then I'm also in the middle of directing my first feature film.
Nice, good.
Which I'm shooting right now through quarantine, through Zoom, outdoors. It's a great story, kind of a triumph story during quarantine. Like for people that everybody's life has changed right now with COVID, and we hear a lot of the really harsh things that have happened. But I think it's also forced a lot of people to re-strategize, and sometimes that re-strategization and sometimes that reevaluation of the choices we've made and the changes that come from that can have really incredible positive effects. And so this film is about that journey.
And what's that called?
I haven't titled it yet.
That's a great.
It's very hard for me to title things, by the way. It all began in Africa. I got the title because it's in Africa and because it talks about my childhood, and my dad's Egyptian from Africa. So it's called It All Began in Africa. But other than that, I mean, it's a nightmare for me.
If anybody's got ideas for a title for Shelley's, send them in.
Yes, please.
There's no prize other than the film will be called that.
My sincere thanks will be the prize.
There you go.
Gold star.
What more could you want other than Shelley's thanks? And Nick, what about you?
What am I doing? Compared to these two, I'm doom scrolling on my computer and eating peanut butter out of the jar. I mean,
You mean
that's kind of
Nick?
Yeah. I actually have 3 scripts at various stages right now, and there's like a race going on, a 3-way race to see which I finish first. One of them is horror, sort of existential, multi-threaded character. I would call it sort of like Robert Altman meets Clive Barker. And the other is sort of an urban fantasy, and I don't even know what I would call the third one. It's sort of a lighter.
Send in titles for Nick.
Yeah, three titles. Yeah.
Whatever they are.
Yeah, that's good. Great name, by the way, Nick. You were either going to be a wrestler or a movie maker in the horror. That's me.
Yeah, well, I mean, I got the body for a wrestler, but I don't think I have the temperament to wrestle.
Right, but anyway, I'll let you go. Thanks very much for joining me.
Thank you, Tony. It's been a pleasure.
It's been fantastic.
And thank you for hosting our film in your festival.
It's an absolute pleasure. It's a joy to have it, and
it's a great thing that you're doing for the hen and chickens
yeah.
theater. So many venues are struggling right now.
Yeah, it's awful.
And boy, everybody needs all the help they can get. So it's a wonderful thing you're doing.
Yeah, well, we're all there for everybody. Let's hope next year's a much better one, eh?
Amen.
We all get through it. Right, in the meantime, check these guys out. Check out their film. Give them support. Don't forget to send in the film titles for Nick and Shelley. And well done on a great film.
Thanks
very much.
Thank you. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
And now, officially, Agatha raising PI.
Champagne, everyone, it's launch time. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Olivia Witherspoon is dead.
The key to the mystery is in that house.
Ivy Hall, unexplained paranormal activity on grand scale.
What next? Vampires? Zombies? Little green men in flying saucers? Stay close. Perfectly safe with me.